Hello, Kipsters. It's Mr. Woods coming to you to have another discussion about agape. Mr. Woods, what are we having a discussion about? Agape. We're going to talk about a black and brilliant and beautiful young woman who showed a lot of agape. But before we talk about Miss Coretta Scott King, we're going to sing our agape song. Agape agape is what we need. Agape agape is what we need. And once again, we're going to talk about how Coretta Scott King showed Agape. You may know her as the wife of Martin Luther King. However, she was more than just a wife. She was an activist who stood up for her rights, not only for herself, but for the people around her. Are you ready, Kipsters? Before we talk about how Miss Coretta Scott King showed a lot of agape to her community, we have to go over daily reminders of how we can show agape at home. So, Kipsters, I'm going to go over how we can show agape at home once again. We can ask our parent, how's their day going? That shows a lot of agape and a lot of love. It shows that you care for someone other than yourself. Helping your mom, dad, your brother, your cousin, your sister, your grandma, or your granddad with the trash is also helpful too and shows a lot of agape. You can also making sure that you follow your parents' directions, so make sure you always have your ears open, Kipsters, for directions. You can help your parents make their bed or your bed. That's also helpful as well and shows a lot of agape. You can make sure your voice is always heard, so if you're sticking up for yourself, you shouldn't be quiet. You should stick up for yourself. Also, you can show a lot of agape Kipsters. This is the most important way you can show agape, in my opinion. You can give your family a lot of love and show them a lot of love as well by smiling, giving hugs, and telling them that I love you. Now, Kipsters, we're going to talk about up next how Coretta Scott King was an activist. So, Kipsters, what is an activist? Because Coretta Scott King was an activist. An activist is someone who sticks up for their community and sticks up for the rights of their community as well. And during the time Coretta Scott King was alive, people really didn't want to hear her voice. They wanted to hear Martin Luther King's voice. Women's voices were not appreciated at the time. So Coretta Scott King showed a lot of people agape, herself agape, by making sure her words were always heard. She also made sure she showed a lot of agape to her community by helping people find jobs. Back then, a lot of people were unemployed. What's unemployed, Mr. Woods? That means a lot of people did not have jobs. So to show her community love, she made sure that everybody had a job. And she also wanted everybody from any of the community to get along. That way we can also have a better community overall. And which shows a lot of agape. And it also shows how Coretta Scott King was an activist. Up next, Kipsters, we're going to talk about how caring Miss Coretta Scott King was as well. As you already know, Kipsters, Coretta Scott King was a person who cared about her community. She believed that we must care for all students. So Kipsters like you, your older sisters, your older brothers, she wanted to make sure every student was cared for. And she believed that we also must pay attention to the medical needs of Kipsters as well. So when you get a cut or when you get a bruise or when you have to go to the office to get an ice pack, she wanted to make sure that things like that were always taken care of because it shows a lot of agape. But once again, Kipsters, remember, Coretta Scott King was an activist. She was also a brilliant, black, and beautiful woman who wanted to make sure her voice was always heard. However, a couple reminders. You can show agape at home by doing small things like giving out a lot of hugs and a lot of smiles and a lot of love. Also, you can be an activist too by making sure your word is always heard no matter what. You always want to stick up for yourself. You also want to be caring like Coretta too. But before we leave, let's sing our agape song. Agape, agape is what we need. Agape, agape is what we need. Thank you for tuning in, Kipsters. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for tuning in.